So the panel discussion number 3 is ever-evolving world of digital payments, a whole new paradigm shift. So we have a stellar lineup of speakers, senior professionals once again. The session moderator is Madam K.V. Sheetal, Chief General Manager Digital Banking at Bank of Baroda. Welcome, ma'am. I request Sheetal ma'am to be accompanied by Dr. N. Rajendran. Dr. Rajendran, what a wonderful thing to have you back at this conference. Chief Digital Officer of Multi-Commodity Exchange of India. Welcome, sir. Mr. Rajesh Ram, General Manager, Bank of India. Ms. Shweta Dasgupta, Head of Products at NPCI, Bharat Bill Pay Limited. And Mr. Topendra Bhattacharjee, Chief Executive Officer, Bargat.ai. So we request all these distinguished personalities to join us on stage. We'll carry forward this discussion for the next 3/4 of an hour, and while I go out and usher the remainder of our delegates inside. Thank you, sir. I request Madam Sheetal to carry forward the discussions from here on. So this is the panel on ever-evolving world of digital payments, a whole new paradigm shift. Thank you.
Are you all able to hear me? Yeah. So on behalf of IBEX, I thank to be the moderator for this panel discussion. And I want to make it very exciting, especially after the post-lunch. And the theme which we all carry day in, day out is the ever-evolving payment systems and its emerging trends. So with us today, we have a very seasoned, innovative panelist. But to set the context on payments, as we have evolved as a country and as a global, where we are today and where we want to move, and how we want to move with a very secure payment systems, backed with innovations, and staying ahead of the curve. So let me introduce myself before I start the session. I'm Ms. K.V. Sheetal. I head digital at Bank of Baroda. I have 26 years experience purely on technology and digital. So I breathe day in, day out, mainly on digital and payment space. So having said that, today in India, when we look at the payment curves, I think we are far ahead of the global. With whatever innovations we have done so far, no need to go further. We are all aware that we have given the world the UPI. We have scaled the world in terms of digital transactions. We have benchmarked ourselves, and now we are going globally. We also have brought new use cases, whether it is delegate payments, whether it is offline payments, new types of form factors of payments, the pilot scheme of CBDC, and all this backed on new cybersecurity trends that are coming, how to address them. We have done a decent job. But we need to hear more from our panelists today. So I would request each one of the panelists to introduce themselves and give a brief today on where the country is in terms of where we stand at the payment systems. So I think, Rajendran, you can start, and then Topendra and so on can take forward. Yes, on to you.
Good evening to all. So I already, yes, the organizer has introduced, so I do not want to take it much time on this. If you see the digital transformations, and the UPI made a big change. It's a game changer in every industry. And now AI is now driving so many initiatives. I think we will discuss maybe whatever time permits within this period. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Challenge is always there. Good afternoon. I think glad to be here. This is a wonderful afternoon, and we have got a great audience here. And of course, the way digital payments are changing, we have seen it through the years. I've been there for more than 3 decades into this industry. And I'm very happy to share my experiences today with this panel today. Thank you.
Thanks, ma'am and Mr. Ram. I am Shweta. I have been in the payments industry for past few years. Before that, I've worked in the securities market, been a hands-on developer, built a lot of products, engineering background, etc. Currently, I'm working with a subsidiary of NPCI called Bharat Bill Pay, NBBL entity, where I'm trying to build the products for the entity, primarily trying to solve the value chain of collection between consumer and the receiver, which is the biller. Trying to build the products across industries, starting from investments to utility bill payments and whatnot. So it's a big unit where we are trying to trying to change the way India pays to its billers. Thank you.
Super. Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, IBEX, for having me here. And thank you, ma'am, and my fellow panelists. I am Topendra Bhattacharjee. While Sir Rajendran sir said that he doesn't need introduction, I definitely need introduction because the startup I run is less than 6 months. We have a few customers and it's important. I'm a 26-year banking veteran. Did banking across both India and global, and primarily in the business banking space for a large part of that 26 years. And then for the last 10 years, I was with RBL Bank as head of digital. So I did digital banking for 10 years, seen a few rounds of transformation in RBL and so on. So like ma'am mentioned, the payment curves has evolved many folds since we have, emerged into the digital space. With the emergence and evolution of the payment curves, and obviously UPI being one of them, which is the front runner globally, one very important thing is the vulnerabilities which come along with it. And that needs a lot of security around the entire thing. Now, security are two folds, one on the device or the application side, and the other is your own. So we should speak about that more when my turn comes. Thank you so much.
So thanks to all, and then let's kickstart. So on to you, Rajendra, that we talk on IoT, we talk on blockchain. We may even think in future that, okay, our fridge will reorder the moment, the vegetables are getting over, the milk sachet is going over, it triggers and gives me a notification. It's just imagination, and it can be a reality. And then we connect everything, and then we see that the vegetable vendor runs, I just tap and my payment is through. So if this kind of scenario is what the country is envisaging, what do you think are the key trends that are going to shape the digital payment landscapes? Taking into account all these dots, whether it is IoT, whether it is the 5G that we are working, whether it is the different payment forms, or whether it is the blockchain. What are your views?
Okay. See, my experience, whatever I learned from the non-connected or even computerized branch to now CBS and anything, we have reached the stage now. Maybe many youngsters may not be knowing about how our payment system, banking system has evolved at this stage. And every time we had a different buzzwords, every year a different technology used to drive the entire ecosystem. See, if you see the things maybe 4 or 5 years before, the blockchain was very crazy way. It was driven every industry. But some of them got successful. Some of them still it is working or evolving and how to utilize it. And why it is there, we just wanted to highlight that one. When you have a blockchain, if you are wanted to implement, it's a high infrastructure, high network driven and high latency required also. the volume and the ticket value of transactions. If you use an UPI, suppose a 40 rupees, even 10 rupees also people make a payment. So if we use for this 10 rupees, 100 rupees transaction ticket values, and blockchain is not the right platform, because the way in which you need to store it and it is the node replication, everything, it's a very costlier affair to do the SMR. See, our objective was create a easy experience with the customer. At the same time, make it an affordable. That's why everywhere we are talking about only this digital. Now UPI, yes, UPI has taken. Along with this UPI, other platforms also which created, RuPay also one of the major game changer in India and globally also to bring down the costs and create a customer experience. And when he started then IoT still it is working very well in many areas. Maybe wherever you have a process control, where is the very hazardous situations or the human risk are involved, and where those areas are, ideally it is now already it is deployed, it is being used. And maybe coming to home segment, maybe it will take some more time to catch up that one, the integration, because when you do an IoT driven, and it is also data driven. So when you have your AI get integrated in the IoT networks, then you will be able to provide an efficient and a good experience to the end customers. Then coming to the recent days, everywhere people started discussing Gen AI, Open AI, and the last maybe 2 weeks it is a DeepSeek. So this is it's a large volume and large data, and it is getting processed. And how this is going to change the industry. So what I feel, the AI will be one of the key factors, and we are changing to a bulk transaction, so a lightweight transactions, and every decision had to be taken, every call. So that way the payment system going to drive, because we get all the computing and other storage and network and everything is getting augmented, and it's very high. The latency network and computing systems are getting evolved. So that's why we could able to provide better things. I think with this I will stop here.
Very good insight, sir. So let me take a little different scale or different way. So on to you, Shweta, that today when RBI is into pilot of CBDC, so how do you feel that this CBDC can complement in the digital payments space and it reduce the dependency on cash? More so, a lot of this is looking towards how it can be helpful in the cross-border transactions. So what are your views on that? So can you quickly let us know on that?
I'll attempt, ma'am, because I don't work in this space, though NPCI is working, and I'm as a kind of keen reader, I've read this space, so I'll kind of try to share my personal views on this and not organizational. I think it has a lot of potential. It will really change the way India moves money, or rather, even cross-border, because like the way payments today are happening are all through batch processing or settlement systems, which are running with a particular delay. In some cases, some payment modes, T+1, T+2, there are delays. While with this, one is a lot of transparency, which is not really required, or people don't want transparency in a lot of scenarios. So that's one chain that CBDC will bring. And second is the settlement, because here the ledger will ensure that the settlement happens every payment, similar to an RTGS, right? So I think it has a lot of use cases with people's apprehensions about how CBDC. I mean, these two primary reasons. I think people are trying to find the right ways to implement in a right use cases to be I think adopted. people have apprehensions about these things. Plus, I think the cash brings that fluidity and non-traceability of elements of the whole transaction, which I think we are also trying to solve by saying that certain amount transactions will not be traced back. And government is trying, and I think to address the concerns that are coming in the pilots. A lot of use cases, I think it will really change the landscape. Even, cross-border, I think multiple countries have adopted CBDC as a concept internationally. But I think once we address these concerns, initial CUG, etc., it will really change the way money moves in India.
Thank you. Thank you for your quick update. And on to you, sir, Rajesh, sir. I know you're dealing a big volume of transactions daily. You're looking at the customer expectations. We have to live up to the customer expectations, especially in our banks, so that they are digitally active, savvy. At the same time, we reduce the footfalls in our branches. So quickly, could you tell us that how the mobile first or the various digital modes of channels in the bank is helping our customers?
Yeah. So India is a very interesting market, I would say. If you go to Europe, you only swipe your credit card. Very simple. Or max to max, if you go to Japan, I think still they use cash. India is very unique. So if I walk into a rural branch, I'm 50 years down the line. So I don't know, but there still persists in some parts of Odisha a barter system. So the loss, Rajendran son, what he said that the transaction loss and the speed at which we do the transaction, I think that's very important. So the adoption will take place at that pace only, and the safety and security of the money. So if I go back in my own country, I can see that people have the safety of cash by putting it inside an inner pocket. Money they want to use in the upper pocket. And the money they are carrying from one city to another city is in a bag. So with some other commodity. So they hide it somewhere. So that's how they secure their money. I think this psychology of the use of which part of the cash and where the use case will be, where they will be actually using it, depends upon how they store the money. On the similar lines, if I say that in today's metro scenario, if you see in a bigger cities, Bombay, and of course all top metros, if you see the transaction which is taking place is quick and fast. I think most of us are using Lite, UPI Lite or the Lite version, or we are using contactless. I think that is how we prefer doing cash. We don't want, we want it without OTP, without authentication, quick and fast. I think the least authentication you want to give is a biometric authentication. So that's how it's moving here. But if you go to the interior part of the country, people are still using cash. People still do not have smartphones. So I was just looking at some statistics last 2 weeks. If you see the footfall at Mahakumbh is around 50 crores. And the number of UPI users is now around 30 crores. So if you see that 50 crores people who have come down to Kumbh, they are all having good amount of cash. I think somebody who is able to afford to come to Kumbh is having money. But out of that, I think the majority of them, I would say, majority of them are still not using digital. Remember that. So there's a huge scope in that. And this is where we need to chip in. I think a very good initiative by NPCI was UPI 123. But the challenge is adoption. Now, adoption is one challenge which the country is facing. Although adoption is very, very fast, very, very quick with network, with the internet penetrating, with smartphones becoming affordable, this is going very, very fast. But I think we are yet to touch more than half the population who can still be brought onto this platform. So things like UPI 123, as I said, or to drive any other product where the other half of the population is able to use it and they have faith into that. So that type of products will catch. As I said, UPI 123 is a wonderful project, but the adoption is very slow. Anybody who has a smartphone will obviously onboard UPI first. What I've seen in my own customer base is that the first thing when a customer opens the account, the first transaction he does is a UPI transaction. So I think UPI has taken over cards and other payment modes. So UPI has become very popular, and the acquiring infrastructure, the DPI, the digital infrastructure across the country is also very picking up very fast. I think everybody is putting forth a QR code. Very interesting things. But I think there is still a huge scope and a huge base to be addressed to, which I think all of us need to concentrate upon.
So I think it's a very good point in terms of pondering to all of us that there's still a long way to go in terms of adoption, in terms of driving the payments. But today's scenario, when at a large scale of UPI, which has touched billions of transactions per month, we are facing a lot of concerns. We are hearing about the digital arrest. The money has been siphoned off quickly in less than 5 minutes. People are losing in lakhs. There's a lot of work happening at the MHA. We have got the I4C, the cybercrime portal coming into picture. We are making lot of digital awareness to the customers, because as the adoption increases, there's other you can say a phase to it on how safe we are going to conduct these digital transactions. So I think no better than Topendra, who is investing mainly into an AI/ML solutions on building the next level of cybersecurity, and also on focus on how we can make our mobile devices more secure. If we are moving towards contactless payments, how are we going to make it more secure? So Topendra, can you give us some crisp thoughts on how the users are required to safeguard when they're doing the digital payments?
Thank you so much. Rajesh sir actually helped me build the entire thing, and that's the good segue into what happens when your adoption increases. I mean, we are all, I'm sure in this room there will not be one person who's not got a FedEx call or a DHL call or aapka ye reh gaya hai, aapka dabba nahi aaya, all these things which are happening. Now these are ways and means through which identity theft happens, and stealing of identity leads to synthetic identities. These synthetic identities are created to create these fraudulent accounts which sit inside the portfolio. Since we are in this space, I'm sure everyone has heard about something called mule accounts. These are those mules who sit inside a portfolio. And these accounts come into action only when there is a larger fraud which is happening on the outside. They are used as vehicles to transfer the money. So like ma'am mentioned, minutes mein gayab ho jata hai. So these accounts have been opened earlier or maybe immediately, but you will never find the face to those accounts because these are generally synthetic accounts which are there. Now, there are two parts, like I mentioned in my previous pitch also, that one is technology can solve this problem to an extent. The other very important thing is at our end. This may sound a little preachy, but it is extremely important for us to understand the responsibility that we weigh on ourselves when we start using digital. Because we loosely actually publish our own information on various portals, etc., that we use ourselves, portals, social media, etc., etc. Now, that information is utilized by these guys to actually against us. And just to give you all a small one quickly, we all order for e-commerce at our homes. I don't know how many of you all actually scrap the wrapper by scratching it or destroying the information on it. It's a very basic behavior, but we don't understand how much of information we are giving through that wrapper. Yeah. So, and let me tell you, there is an industry working behind in the parallel where it is almost 5,000 crores now. I read that article some time back, which is rag pickers are being paid specially to pick up wrappers. So that's the kind of scare that we are living in. Now, not to scare you guys to use digital though, but having said that, on the technology side, AI and ML is being used, extremely actively. There is a lot of development which is going on on the ML side to actually safeguard transactions within the banking system. There are ways and means to actually curb the bad actor from coming into the portfolio. There are ways and means to actually support transactions. So for example, if I pick up payments as an example, there are three ways in which ML or even AI can support payments to become more secure. Firstly is fraud control or anomaly detection. I mean, maybe my largest payment ticket is say 10,000 rupees. Now, anomalous transaction could be a 50,000 rupee transaction from my account. That could be a problem, or that could be real also. But you would have realized now credit card companies, banks, etc. give you a call even in the middle of the night if you're doing a transaction, right? So that's proactive. So that's anomaly detection or fraud detection also. That's one way to do it. Second is customer segmentation. Now, can I identify sets of customers and group them into segments basis their spend pattern? So I can do a pattern matching and figure out whether this person does X type of transactions or not. That can happen at a very granular level. So one is ticket size, which I mentioned. The other is also merchant types. So for example, I may have never spent money on gold, on a gold merchant, somebody selling gold. But, there is a transaction where, through my card or my payment device, there is a gold transaction. Now that's a red flag. Can that get tracked? Yes, it can get tracked. And can that get flagged off? Yes, it can get flagged off. Can it be proactive? It may not be proactive, but it can be real time. Yeah. So that's the third thing. Second thing. The third thing is, can we do proactive monitoring of the portfolio to ensure whether the transacting patterns are matching or not, or are there red cohorts of customers inside the portfolio? How do we do that? There is something called graph database or graph DB. There are multiple providers of the same, both proprietary as well as open source. You can overlay your portfolio on top of it. GraphDB gives you information about latent relationships inside portfolio users, so portfolio constituents. So for example, me and Shweta are a part of the same portfolio. I have been red flagged by the bank as a high risk customer. If I have a relationship, or say a transactional relationship with Shweta, or a demographic relationship with Shweta, then either I am at risk or I am also a risk. In both cases, there is a proactive requirement for the business to red flag me or put enhanced due diligence on me. So these are things that can be done through AI and ML models inside the portfolios to ensure that we are proactively managing our risk on the payment side or on the identity side. So on the identity side, and that's what we do also, is something that we do is we use alternate variables. We use alternate variables to identify whether the customer is a red, amber or green customer before he has come into the form filling stage. That we do through his device. So we figure out his device forensics, we see his IP, we see his cognitive behavior. We triangulate this information to figure out whether the guy is a red, amber or green. We score him and then leave it to the business to take in a decision on this person to come in or not. Now these are things which are a little modern day in terms of current day scenarios to tackle current day scenarios. However, this is not all. There is a lot of development going on in this space, and there are people working relentlessly to figure out the fraud part of it. So when I said the first part that you should be careful, while you are careful, there is a lot of work going on to defend you as well. So I'm sure, sir, your mobile app is device bound? Yeah,
that's definitely there.
So that's another piece. So when you are device bound, your device is your device. Nobody else can use you use your device to do a transaction, because that payment app will not work with your credentials in another device. So these are things which are again technology bound solutions which support a lot of fraudulent risks, taking care of the risks in fraud transactions. This is a vast subject, so we can't capture everything, but the last bit is with AI or ML being deployed, there is a lot of data which is coming in and being from the consumer side of it. So there is a lot of consumer information that you can process to create models which could be both personalized at one end and also create the previous three things that I'm saying. So the models will slowly and steadily become sharper and will be able to defend you more and more. Thank you.
So I think it was really very insightful. So Upendra, you have really thrown light. And also the digital hygiene that we need to maintain, I think that was equally touched upon. So just 2 minutes and then we can throw open some of the questions to the audience. To you, Shweta, in terms of now we are offering credit on the UPI rails, more and more credit access to the individuals, either on the platforms like ONDC or through UPI and the other rails which are coming, or the embedded finance. Can you tell what this next level of innovation is going through quickly? Then we can leave it to the audience. Yeah, on to you.
Credit side of things is what you said.
Like you had the BNPL, but it did not take off. Correct. Now you have the credit line on UPI, which is coming. So there's a ONDC platform which is allowing some of the credit access to the MSMEs. Correct. So what are your views on that?
Sure. So I think, at the end it's all credit and that the bank is giving. While these are all form factors of credit, and you know it better than me, being on the banking side, right? Whether it's pay later, somebody is giving that credit, or is it a credit card? It's the same. It's revolving credit that is coming, at the customer's end. So I think that the data that we are talking about, that is helping the supply of this credit with ease and with more comfort. So I think credit is, while everybody needs credit, the excess of credit, especially to credit cards, was limited to a very small segment of people. And with a lot of data being available now, at banks end because of UPI and a lot of transaction trails, that giving credit piece becomes slightly easier. And that can be utilized and with definitely, with DPDP and things like those, we really need and that's another vast subject we can touch upon though, where the customer consent is really necessary to give the credit, which is not the case, and there were cases around that. But I think the credit everybody needs, be it businesses, be it consumers. The digital data trails can be used to enable that excess of credit. And I think that's where, though regulations are needed, because who's funding that, the NBFC space and things like a lot of complexity in giving credit because of the money being involved and the margins that can be charged for the customer who's not worthy of that credit maybe. So those are the reasons where a lot of data security and data trails can be used to monitor and supply that credit. I would say, I think, I'll take a pause there. Probably it's a vast subject.
Thanks. So I think every part of payment itself is a big ocean itself. So I think it was quite insightful. Now I'll leave it to the audience for your quick questions to our esteemed panelists. So on to the audience for some questions.
Hi, my name is Sudesh. I come from a banking industry almost 35 years. Okay, now my question is, you talk of KYC and all this regulatory stuff. So, and you and Mr. Bhattacharya mentioned about the mule accounts. So how do these mule accounts get into the banking system when you have so much of regulations coming in?
Thank you for asking this, Sudesh. It actually elaborates my point. You gave me an opportunity while I didn't plant you. So, Mule, so there's something called social engineering. Okay? Social engineering is where there is identity theft happening. Now, I mentioned some ways and means of identity theft. So, there are 5 types of, identity thefts. The first 3 are less collusion, and the last 2 are deliberate. Okay? When I say less collusion, there could be a naive guy who doesn't even know that his account is getting opened. Then there are other 2 who would be partly maybe at fault. Somebody has, without deliberation, shared credentials and so on. So identity theft is something which is very, very prevalent. And when I talked about the ways and means in which identity theft happens, there are many folds now. In today's date, there are many folds. The simplest ones, like we all face, is the FedEx fraud or the DHL fraud. Now, there is information which is on the labels, there is information that you share on social media, there is information that is there on your digital footprints, whether there is there. So, just to give you a quick perspective, my debit card is available in the darknet, number and date of expiry for $30. So, that's the level of identity theft which happens. So, all this data that is there is somebody who is putting it together to create a synthetic identity. Now, synthetic identity is created with without your knowledge about you. Now, that identity comes into doing KYC. Now, KYC is what you have and what you know. Now, somebody who's doing social engineering will manage all these things. What you have means your documents. What you know is your information about yourself, address, date of birth, phone number, mother's maiden name, and so on. So these are things which are, the KYC parameters. Very regimented, very rigorous. Of course, there are back-end checks, etc. But you don't know where this has got orchestrated. If somebody is engineered your data and documents, he can manage the back-end also, right? So for him to enter, I mean, I know I'm sitting in midst of bankers, but beyond this, there is not much of a check till the fraud happens. Yeah, I've been a banker myself. I've seen this myself. Now, if at that point of time, it is post facto, we are then chasing, right? Now, therefore, the mule account creation happens through socially engineered credentials by a bad actor to create an account, sit inside a portfolio and wait for the fraud to happen and become a vehicle to exit the money. This is the narrative through which this works. I hope that answers the question.
Hello all. My question is to all of you who are sitting on the stage. My name is Ankit. I'm from Cal ATM Software. So we are talking a lot about digital initiatives in India that is happening on the banks, and we are also talking about the UPI. And there is an increment of more transactions in terms of volume, but cash still is a king in India. So my question is, every product just like has a product life cycle, introduction, growth, maturity, and the decline. So all of you, what do you think about the UPI? So currently it's in a growing stage. Will there be a phase of maturity and there will be a decline, or it will be not?
Can I?
Yeah.
Okay. So I think when we created that thing, I was part of that UPI creation. We created during that time. There is one thought process gone through it. It is personally attached devices, mobile. Okay. Started with how to make use of mobile in the payment system. That was the question given to us to create a UPI. This is the only starting. A lot of bankers, Bank of India, and everybody knows that we all had a lot of workshop, 2-3 workshop, how to make use of the mobile. As far as the mobile is available, communication is available, UPI is going to grow, and not only UPI. See why we call this, when that UPI created, we told use your device to make your payment. This is what one of the punchline we used to promote. See, many things are shifting to mobile. Since this smartphone, and it is itself is a mini computer and not mini computer, it becomes the even, sometimes you will get a better than the PC or the server, that much power you will get it in the mobile. Even when he talked about the fraud and risk management system, we did not discuss much about it. And this AI has been implemented 2-3 years before at NPCI for machine learning and everything too. It is built in India locally because after evaluating so many solutions and decided to create it a own and data-driven fraud and risk management system. When you say the mobile, when you carry, if you travel outside India, you carry a debit or credit card. When you authorize through a card, even your mobile, because the bank app is available in your mobile, you can even check, correlate it whether I am there in the location or the country to make this payment or not. Because anyhow, I will able to open the app in any one of the occasion to just check it or even to do something. So what is my answer is, it's not only a payment, other identities also shifting into a mobile. So that's why along with all the things, this, your even document you are carrying in the digital lockers, you are carrying in the mobile. Your airport access now made available in the mobile. So like that, everything is become a mobile, and even your cards are now, it is ported into the mobile now. Even you don't need to carry a credit card with you, just you open the app, then just scan it or just tape it. The trend is growing, and the model is totally different than any other a scheme or bank created a product. So that's why it has a longer viabilities, and definitely as far as mobile is continuing, you will try to do it. The issues which is occurred, it is not in the payment systems. Payment and banking system has tightened a lot of things and it's grown and everything. Whatever happened, if we say merchant is the fake, what is that? That is an ecosystem issue that need to be fixed outside. If the transaction coming from XYZ, that XYZ have to be verified by some other system, ensure the thing that guy is not a fraudulent guy. So I think that system will evolve over the course of time, and then it will definitely it will stay for more years. It growth only is available in my opinion, because still your mobility is not rolled out completely 100%. Mobility going to be a big use case for your mobile and tap and go payments, and that is a huge transactions. Whatever you have, metros only rolled out in very few cities, and it is going to be even transport also going to be have it. So I think my view is it will grow.
Can I just add to
I
Mr.
think,
Sorry,
yeah, so I think, but I can quickly say, there's an indication that we have to this.
Yeah,
Can
sure.
quickly wrap up?
It's a quick one. I think the question that you asked was on the life cycle. I think every product has a life cycle, very well said. Indeed, UPI is nothing but a refined version of IMPS. And so is what we are trying to, tie the CBDC and UPI together. I'm sure the things will evolve and some other, mode will occur maybe in future and things will become better in UPI. So definitely, there's no two ways about it. Things always keep changing in the tech world, right?
Yeah. So we have got a bonus 5 minutes more. So just to answer your question, so it's a wait and watch on the behavior of the customers trending from UPI to cash. But yes, that curve will continue on an upward trend is what we all are optimistic, and we are all striving towards that. The country is striving towards that. I think, we have given further more clarity. We have got 5 more minutes, so any other question, we can take one more question. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Atul. I'm from the banking fraternity. I have a small query. In looking in the parallels of the entire thing, and what we are looking at is also a topic of hyper personalization. How does this thing come into the entire scenario of this thing?
So, yeah, if you can, and he can supplement afterwards. Yeah, you can.
Yeah. I think your device or your data footprints which you are living around, now that is creating a alibi of your own self. Now this alibi of your own self in today when DPDP Act has not taken force fully, I think many of the aggregators are having huge amount of information. I was just jokingly telling some time back at one point of time, if I wanted to evaluate a person, whether I want to rent my flat to him or whatever purpose, I will just go to his Facebook, Insta, 3 profiles and I can scan the person how it is. Now the same thing is being done by tech, personalized and hyper-personalization. So the amount of information which is available today around, which you are not aware. The first time, I think 10 years back, when I went to somebody, one of the aggregators, so he told me, sir, can you give me your PAN number? I'll tell you how many gas cylinders you have used. So that type of information was available 10 years back. In the last 10 years, the amount of digital footprints we have created is very, very huge. You cannot imagine the amount of data we are having, and the amount of data is getting stored somewhere. And somebody is using that data. So that's why we have Gen AI and ChatGPT or the likes of that. Now they are able to work on this. Sorry. So your data, which is there, will be offered back to you in a different form. I think that is what is hyper-personalization. When you have a bank account or you are on an e-commerce site or you are on some other platform, the amount of data which you have shared with the platform and the data which is available in the open arena, if you combine that, I think a person can offer you a hyper-personalized service, and that is where everybody is rushing into today. Billions and billions of dollars are being spent. I think Stargate has come, some $50 billion are going to be invested in that. Everybody is investing in that. I think all countries are investing in that, and all this will lead to your, what we understand is hyper-personalization and targeted marketing to each one of us. I think that should answer your question.
So quickly, if you can add, and that should be your closing this. Yeah.
2-3 things. I think Rajesh sir has covered most of it. Quick one is that data is the key in that case. What you leave in terms of data can be profiled as your behavioral. So there is something called spray bullets and there is something called the sniper approach. So this is where n is equal to 1, means your segment size is equal to 1, and therefore you are trying to personalize basis the behavioral of the individual, basis the data that he's left in the digital space, like he said, on social media, on payments, on various types of data is available, to cut the noise in your marketing dashboard. Means somebody is trying to pitch to you a product, he can give you the full brochure or full catalog versus identifying the product that you require. Now, that can happen only if he has information about you, and that information is used to profile you and pitch to you the right fit. And that's what is personalization in short.
Very well apt and concluded. So I think it was very insightful to all of you. You must have gained a lot of information in terms of evolving, in terms of security, in terms of the curve ahead that we are moving, or in terms of adoption for the payment system. So thank you very much. Thank you to all the panelists, and thank you to IBEX for giving us the opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you indeed, ma'am, and your wonderful panel for having done full justice to this wonderful topic. I request Sheetal ma'am to hand over mementos to her fellow panelists. Dr. Rajendran, we can never thank you enough. He's always ready to come and share his wonderful experience and insights with us. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Mr. Topendra Bhattacharya ji. Yes, sir. Thank you for being here, sir. Thank you very much. Madam Shweta Dasgupta. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Rajesh Ram. Thank you, sir, for being here. Thank you very much. Yeah, can we have a photo session, please?